Hi everyone, I'm going to share with you my grandmother's, I think it's kind of famous, it's famous in my life, chicken soup recipe. Jewish penicillin they called it. I've been eating this stuff since I was a kid and I'm about to show you how we make it. I've modified it to be, I guess, Matthew style you might call it. And let's get started. We're making a rather large pot. I'll give you some idea of how big that thing is. So we're gonna start filling it with RO water. We have a reverse osmosis water filter, so we like to, keep it pure. All right, well, I don't know how many of you have quartered a chicken before, but I thought I would show you how I do it. I like to get a little bit of warm water running and then a nice sharp knife, and you just kind of find the joint and off it goes, just like that. Drop it in there. Find that joint, rinse it out, and into the pot. Same thing with the wings. Here's a bag of gizzards. That part's precious. You got to keep that in there. And rinse it out. Take the gizzards, rinse all that off. Get it in there. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a rib cage inside that thing. If you can find the point between the ribs, there's a spot where the bones come together. You can get all the way down in there with your knife and just rip the whole thing apart. I like to get, clean out the, I guess it's part of the intestinal tract, kind of gizzards. I'm a little bit of a sort of a clean freak, I guess, when it comes to doing this stuff. I like to get it nice and clean so it doesn't gross me out. And then throw everything in the pot. I'm actually doing 2 chickens in this one because we're making a giant pot and I like really rich broth, so I'll go ahead and pause it for that step. All right, so I got that other chicken in there. My grandmother's name was Olga. She came over from Russia in the early 1900s. They were run out of Russia by the Cossacks, I guess, were the people who were running Jews out of Russia in the early 1900s. And so this every time I went over to my grandmother's house, she knew how much I loved this chicken soup, and I would always walk in and smell the beautiful aroma and have the warm comfort of Grandma's chicken soup when I went down to visit her. So I have both chickens in the pot now. Oh, about the name. So my grandma Cavelli married my grandfather, Italian, got that last name. Her maiden name was Fuchs, and it was changed in immigration to Fuchs. That was the Jewish name. So this is where I veer off of Grandma's recipe a bit because I kind of Nevada City-ized it a little bit and going for some bone broth / kind of gelatin extraction. So I have bags of chicken feet that I get at the Briar Patch, and this is a bag of necks and backs that we like to throw in there to just get the richest broth we can. So I got 2 bags of chicken feet, 1 bag of backs and necks. All right, so once I have this, once I have this concoction pretty well filled up with water, the RO system's actually getting a little low on water. Once I have it covered, like the meat's completely covered with water, I go ahead and throw it on the oven, on the burner, and get it cooking while I'm chopping veggies. Okay, so we have it on the burner, and get the vent fan going so we don't have to breathe any of the off-gassing from the gas on the stove, and off it goes. I'll go ahead and start cutting all the veggies. So the recipe my grandmother gave me was very simple. I've kind of modified it a little bit, but it's 1 whole chicken with the gizzards and 1 medium-sized yellow onion, and she just put 1 carrot in it and 1 bunch of dill, finely chopped, and then salt it to taste. I'm effectively doubling all that because we have a big family and I like really rich broth. And then I've added the additional ingredients of the feet and backs and neck. And I'm actually going to add parsley into it as an experiment this time because of some of the medicinal values of parsley. And I heard it actually complements the dill really well in a dill-based broth. Part of the reason I like to get the meat kind of cooking while I'm chopping all the veggies, because if you leave the veggies in there for too long, they get all mushy and kind of fall apart. And I like to have a little bit of al dente going on with the veggies. So I kind of let it get to a simmer before I throw my veggies in. Oh, and one change that I made as well is instead of getting a medium-sized onion, I get a large onion and I throw like 4 carrots in there because I really like the flavor and the texture of the added carrots. This whole thing with the parsley is a little new to me. I did a little research, and what actually ChatGPT recommended was to put the stems in when the meat goes in and let that simmer for the full cooking time, and then add the parsley at the last 10 minutes. Does something with the flavor and maintains the, I guess doesn't overcook it. I'm not sure. I'm going to find out. So for a little historical context, my grandmother, the way she cooked this stuff is she would chop the onions and carrots into big pieces, like big chunks of it, like giant, kind of, in my opinion, large chunks, and then throw the whole chicken in there and just let it simmer until the meat was falling off the carcass, and then just like spoon out the soup with the meat stuff and kind of pick the bones out as you were eating it. And I guess I Americanized it a little bit by changing the protocol, and I'll show you more about that here in a few minutes. All right, so dripping. I'm putting a good amount of carrots in there. That's easily double what my grandma would have done, but I like the carrots. Okay, so I chopped up 2 full bunches of celery, 5 big onions, and 2 full 2 big onions, 5 carrots, 2 full bunches of celery, and a full bunch of celery, not celery, but parsley, and a full bunch of dill weed. So I'm gonna hold the dill weed and the parsley back until toward the very end, because I don't want to just completely dissolve it in there. I want it to be sort of a fresh accoutrement. So this step is always kind of throws people off a little bit, the amount of salt that we need. So this is a 2 tablespoon measuring spoon, and because we're working with a rather large pot, I'm going to put 2 of these things in there for a starting point. And last time I did that, it was actually just about right. Better to start a little light and add more if you are new to this. So now I have the pot kind of sitting there under high temp, waiting for it to start to simmer, and it looks like I'm starting to get a little bit of movement in there, which means we're probably 5-10 minutes out from having a full simmer going here. Oh, one more thing. So I've kind of evolved to making rice with the soup and pouring the soup over rice. That's been kind of a tradition for myself and my family. When I would go to my grandmother's house when I was a kid, she would always have egg noodles and add egg noodles into the soup. So we want to have something like that. We also love toast, especially sour bread toast. Oh, here's my little light. Sourdough bread toast with peanut butter on it is a favorite. So something to put alongside of it. All right, so this was very close to boiling and I have to leave. So I went ahead and poured all the veggies in there and it brought it up to the very brim. Want to make sure you don't get too close to the brim because this does expand and some foam comes to the top, and if it's any closer than that, you'll get a boil over. And then here's the pro tip at this point. Once that thing is at a simmer, and I usually put it just below, like above medium, like medium high, when it's simmering, that seems to be like a decent simmer without like it being a rolling boil. Once it's got that simmer going, put a lid on it, set a timer for 1 hour. If you do it for an hour and a half, all the cartilage, the meat will like turn into little tiny shreds and be really kind of dissolved in a sense into the soup. It just falls apart. It's hard to get the bones out, and it's just not as good of a texture in my opinion. So 1 hour is the sweet spot. And then when you pull the meat off, the cartilage stays on the bones and you can separate everything out really easily, and the chicken still has some texture to it so that it's just a nice experience to eat. All right, so I'm getting the rice ready. It's about 15 minutes to go. Just keeping an eye on the timer, and got that nice kind of gentle simmer, like light boil happening, and everything's looking great. Hi there. So we have had this simmering now for about an hour, and it's time to turn the heat off and let it cool down. I usually let it sit there for a little while to cool down because working with it at this temperature is a little harder. I ended up picking up one of these from the Tessa's Kitchen Supply so that I could dig in there and grab the bones and stuff out, and I'll separate them out into a separate pot, and so I can pick all the meat off. I'll show you that here in a second. Okay, so hold on. All right, so what I do is I get something that I can spoon out the meat with and separate it out. So I'll take the meat and bones and put them in this bowl so that I can pick the meat off and get rid of all the bones. When I'm done here, I will help you with the pirate booty, Millie. So I just pick the chicken feet out and throw them away. Jenny likes to keep all that stuff and pick the skin off of it and all that, and maybe I'll do that for her sake. Okay, so you can see how the way I cooked it, it's still kind of not falling apart. It's kind of intact. That makes it a heck of a lot easier to clean everything out and get all the meat separated from the bones without it just all falling apart into a big mess. So yeah, there's that. While I'm doing this, I went ahead and started the rice. So you can see how these carrots are still intact in here. If you cook it too long, they just turn to mush, which is not as desirable in my opinion. I used to do this with big spoons and kind of just spoon through here until I got all the stuff out. But this giant, like, I don't know what you call this thing, separator, sieve kind of thing, I can get this all separated in a matter of minutes. It's very convenient. Now that I have that all separated out of there, I'm going to let it cool down for a little while and do a little taste test. And I'm going to add some more salt because that 4 tablespoons was not quite enough. Just to be careful not to overdo it at this point, so I'll go like 1 more tablespoon in here. If it was a smaller batch, I would probably do less than that and just stir it around, let that salt dissolve in there, taste it again. That's better. It's a little less salty than I like it, but it's probably salty enough for a lot of people. So I'm gonna leave it like that so people can salt it to taste from here. So now I'm just gonna let this meat cool down for a while till it's cool enough that I can get in there and handle it and separate all that meat out from the bones and get rid of all the bones, and then put it all together. So this part, what I found to be the easiest thing at this point is to get a pair of gloves. I mean, you can do this without gloves, but It kind of insulates against the heat a little bit. I mean, if you let it cool down enough, you don't really have to do that. But I just go through here and pick off the meat from the bones. I throw it in one bowl, and I throw the bones and the stuff that I don't want to keep in the garbage. And I just pick through everything until I get it all separated out. And that way you don't end up with like a bone in your mouth every other time you take a bowl or a spoonful of soup. I like to have the faucet right here too, because if my fingers get too hot I can just cool them down. Okay, so I have all the chicken separated out now, and it's 2 full chickens worth. I'm gonna pour that in the pot and we're just about ready to go. All right, so now I carefully add all that chicken back in there. And don't be surprised if you find a bone that you missed when you're separating all that stuff. Looks like I missed a couple of bones. Oh yeah. Yes, delish. All right, so I got some brown rice in there, and I just stir it up, get all that delicious broth mixed with the chicken and the carrots, and kind of top it off the way I like it. Grandma's chicken soup. And the next generation is served. Lord, thank you for this food. Thank you for blessing us with Grandma's chicken soup for the 3rd generation. We all love it. Kids love it. And we thank you, Grandma, for passing down Jewish penicillin.